are back. Welcome to Monday's Total Soccer Show. I am Daryl Grove, and I'm joined by a man who's given all the thanks he can give. It's Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello. Fewer thanks than usual this year.
Is that right?
Only 2 Thanksgivings. Usually 3, sometimes 4, sometimes 5. Only 2.
You know what I wasn't thankful for?
What's that?
I didn't see you for like 4 days.
Was it weird?
It was a little bit weird, right? Normally we're in studio every day.
Yeah, it's that.
We play soccer at weekends.
That's the thing. It's combined with the end of the soccer season. It means there's no weekend guarantee anymore.
There's a little less Taylor in my life.
Now, there was some football, but somebody decided to oversleep.
That could be anyone in this room who's not you. But we missed some good soccer stuff too.
We did.
We were watching, of course. Bob Bradley got his first win as Swansea City manager, which means America got its first managerial win in the Premier League. We're going to talk about that crazy Swansea City 5, Crystal Palace 4 result.
I think Brooks Peck got his easiest ever if it continued article. I do enjoy when he writes those, and I feel like this one would have ended like 97-96 or thereabouts.
Did he really write that? I didn't check.
I don't know, but I'm assuming he probably did.
If he hasn't, then he has by now.
Yeah.
We're also going to talk...
In the time it took me to say those sentences, he wrote the article.
We're going to talk MLS Western Conference Final, or as some people call it, America Conference Final.
Yeah, sure.
Colorado lost at home to Seattle. Seattle are in MLS Cup, Seattle Sounders. The Canadian Conference, the Eastern Conference, will be decided on Wednesday. And later in the show, scouting reports, Timmy Chandler, Darlington Nagbe rumours, all of that to come on TSS today. Shall we start in Wales?
Sure, sounds good.
Swansea City 5, Crystal Palace 4. We've watched this game together.
Yep.
First up, is it as crazy as everybody says?
Yeah,
it is,
definitely.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, you've got 4 lead changes, I think it was, in total. And you had Swansea go down, go ahead, go down again, and then win in the, 92nd, 94th, something like that minute.
Yep.
Yeah,
and
it's
then hang on for the last couple.
Pretty dramatic, pretty chaos, and I would say overall pretty ugly, I think is the thing.
So that it's not just the way the league changed hands so many times, right? 3-1 to Swansea, 4-3 to Palace, then finally 5-4 to Swansea. It's more that... I want to say all the goals in the second half, which is 7 of them, were scrappy goals that was like pinball, right? The ball just bouncing around and eventually going in, right? Am I right? There's a good Crystal Palace goal that's like a nice turn from the first goal. From Zaha. There's a great Gylfi Sigurdsson free kick in the first half.
Equalizer.
Then we come out for the second half, and actually it's 1-1, and then Bob Bradley sends on Llorente, big target man, and then everything goes crazy at both ends.
Yeah, and so I think with a lot of games like this, like if you equate it with American football, games like this happen all the time, and it tends to be like both teams know that they can just score, and it's kind of whichever team has the ball last is going to be the one to do it, and it's this crazy high-flying offensive showdown. In this situation, I think it was just more like it was just crazy, and the managers kept having to make substitutions, make changes, and it was a really physical game as well. I think there were 8 total yellow cards in this one, maybe 9. So if you've got a chippy game, you've got a lot of...
Was chippy, right? Lots of fouls.
And you've got a lot of changes happening. I think that doesn't necessarily lead to attacking fluidity. I think it leads to set pieces and balls kicked into the box and chaos and people not quite being sure of what their role is, and that inevitably leads to goals.
And I want to say as well, if I look at these two teams, right, this is two teams not great at defending set pieces.
Or period, but sure.
Period, right. Yeah. But look how many times in the Bradley's first game for Swansea, we saw Amat and Federico Fernando, I believe it is, the other centre-back, make a mess of several attempts to clear the ball, right? So you've got that coming, and they've got Christian Benteke. They're up against him, right?
Yep. And Connor Wickham.
And Connor Wickham
rather
for
large.
Half the game, right? And then at the other end, once Llorente comes on, you've got Crystal Palace's defence, also not great at dealing with set pieces, and now they have to deal with big Llorente and Gylfi Sigurdsson's magnificent crosses. He really can whip in a dangerous ball.
Yeah.
So it's almost inevitable then that there'll be lots of chaos in the box, because I can't remember a game where I've seen teams fail to clear defensively so many times. Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing is I don't think it's inevitable that goals are going to happen because, I mean... Speaking as a Man United fan, it only took me 4 minutes or so to get that one in there. There was the game a couple years ago with David Moyes when they had like 89 crosses, or maybe that was Louis van Gaal, or maybe it was Jose Mourinho. They've been mediocre under each. But crosses don't necessarily mean that you're going to have goals. I think you're right.
Depends who you're playing.
It's a big part of like center backs who maybe aren't so confident. But I really do think it's just that both managers had to, because of those lead changes, had to make attacking substitutions, and then when the lead changes, suddenly now they've got attackers on, so they've got to maybe they've used all 3 at that point. then have to be like, okay, Benteke, you're going to play center mid and try to mark some people. Like, you just kind of have to have makeshift defensive schemes to deal with those last 5 or 10 minutes, or to deal with the change.
It's Benteke who loses the header. It's not even a header in the end, right? It's the final goal. Gylfi floats it in. And I think it is Federico Fernandez who beats Benteke to the ball on the floor and lays it back across for Llorente to smash. Yeah, I think outside of the foot, drop it in, right? So
maybe not smash, but maybe delicately place. But yeah, either way, I just think it's just chaos, right? Even like Levi Fair's, I think, first goal comes off of 3 different deflections. Like, it's a flick, then it's 2 failed clearances by Crystal Palace. It falls to him at the back post.
Llorente has a Minority Report goal line technology, where he celebrates before it's even gone in.
Yeah, that wasn't so great.
But he knew it was coming.
Sure? I mean, it did look like it was going in.
He got the report from Samantha Morton.
But I think he could have looked foolish because that ball was not crossing the plane. It maybe gets handled by Cabaye, and then he tries to clear it, but really can't do much, and it drops to Fair, who gets another goal.
At best, it's a penalty kick, right? By the time Llorente is celebrating, at best he can claim he's celebrating winning a PK.
Yeah. But so I think in the end, it's tough. With all that said, I don't know how much Bob Bradley takes away from this, because it's not like he made this tactical substitution and all of a sudden everything worked out. He made this tactical substitution, they went ahead, then they went behind again.
I mean, it really worked out from, say, he brings Llorente on in the 60-something minute, and they score twice in about 5 minutes
like
from when Llorente comes on.
Or he comes on at 62, they score 64,
he subs Llorente in as they're about to take a corner kick, and then he comes on and he doesn't score directly from the corner, but he sets it up for Fair, right? I mean, that happens twice in a couple of minutes, 3-1. If the game ends there, Bob Bradley is an absolute genius.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
Okay, but if it did,
but what's the point?
He's influenced the game there with that decision. Right?
True, but then by the same token, Crystal Palace are able to come back and get 3 goals.
Right.
So it's like it's still that's what I'm saying is like it's still sort of like he made that change, but then it didn't go that well. And again, the player he brought on who did have a role in those 2 goals then scored 2 of his own, right? So I mean, that is definitely a positive thing. It's just still like it's not quite what you were saying. It's like it's not quite that firm. Yeah. We're behind, made this change, came back and won, and now it's like, oh, maybe he's got him playing right. Maybe he's really figured it out.
Right, because his other sub was to bring on Angel Rangel to close the game down.
Or Montero too, right?
Later he brought Montero to try and bring the game back.
Yeah.
So his original attempt, he made 1 sub to go up, 1 sub to close it down, then another one to bring it back again.
And if anything, I would say you made a point that I really wanted to disagree with, and I couldn't, which is that it's kind of some of the old Bob Bradley that used to drive us insane, which is prepares for the games when he was U.S. national team manager. Yeah. Things seem good, comes out, concedes a goal in the first 20 minutes. And that, I think they being Crystal Palace scored in the 19th. So it's still that sort of element of like,
but he still fixed it.
Yeah. And it's true. I mean, they get the one back and then they get the win.
I remember for the US.
Right? Yeah. So, I mean, I was really happy to see him get the win, and mostly because I think it probably buys him a couple more weeks.
Yes.
Hopefully into January. Hopefully then he can maybe get a couple players, because they obviously, as you said, need some defenders.
So I think that's it, right? I think with Gylfi Sigurdsson, who has become Bradley's go-to man, he's got a winner there. With Mo Barrow going down the right, he really trusted Barrow to go at, I think it was Martin Kelly, someone Kelly, the left back who's a right back, really burn him down there.
Yep.
You've got Jeff Montero coming back. You've got Llorente you can bring off the bench. It's centre-backs where he's in trouble, because I've not seen a good centre-back performance from any of the players that Bradley has selected to play centre-back. I'm not sure that's his fault. What he really needs is Ashley Williams, who Swansea sold in the summer.
And I want to say, speaking of Ashley Williams, the reason why maybe it will become very clear that they need him is because I think you were the one to point out that 2 of Palace's late 3 goals came from the what we dubbed either the Welsh column or the Welsh tactical column.
I like the Welsh tactical column. Yeah. This is where you, for a corner kick, you have 3 players line up sort of in a tightly packed column, right? And then as the ball comes in, some of them break, one of them stands, and that guy, like, all the markers are drawn away from him. At the Euros, it was Ashley Williams for Wales. For Crystal Palace, it was, I believe, Scott Dan. 2 of the goals, it's him with an open-ish header that he puts down into traffic, and Benteke scores one of them. Can't remember who scores the other one, but twice that is allowed to happen.
Tompkins gets one. Yeah, that's right. And then there's an own goal that's a bit of a fluke.
Right.
Again, that's one we haven't even talked about. That's the flukiest of flukes.
So it's kind of a weird coincidence that Ashley Williams was doing it for Wales and is now unavailable to defend it for Swansea.
Yeah.
But to me, it just speaks to this thing that Swansea need some sort of dominant central defender who will smash head balls away. Yeah. Suggestions?
I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing them go after...
Assuming Bradley makes it to January, which we're thinking with this win he almost certainly will.
Well, let me say this, because I wanted to first say that I do want to go back to when Bob Bradley was appointed. And since that time, there has been a lot, from what I've seen, of a reaction of, like, this is the end of the Swansea way. That we're not going to play exciting soccer. We're not playing attacking soccer. It's going to be dull, boring soccer, American owners, American coach. This is the bummer. I mean, 5-4. That's decent. You're starting to see those goals come in. And so I think while I would like to see him go after somebody like John Brooks, maybe, because I think
that's expensive.
I'm
not sure Swansea got that much money.
Maybe not. But I mean, by the same token, they have the Premier League TV rights.
They do.
They've got a decent amount
of money.
In fact,
Swansea do have a lot of money. Compared to
their Premier League team. So there you go. So I wouldn't mind seeing something like that because I'm an American fan, but also because I think that would be a really good pickup for them. I also wouldn't mind them, though, like, since they are starting to get those goals, maybe that kind of, he's not the Swansea way is weakening a little bit. And I do kind of like that narrative of him maybe restoring it. And so maybe you go after a Welsh centre back.
But he tried some passing football early on and then switched it to, we're going to bang long balls to this big Spanish guy.
Yeah,
right? So he tried some Swansea traditional football.
Well,
so
what
you're saying
think?
a Welsh centre back. So you mean Ashley Williams again?
Yeah, why not? Bring him on back. Or James Chester. Who knows? That could work.
Just any Welsh defender.
Yeah. They only had one in the squad in this game. And it was
Taylor?
Yeah, that was it.
Right.
Neil Taylor. Everybody else was from elsewhere and beyond. Yeah.
So you're asking me who could he sign? I mean, I don't know if people's availability. John Brooks would obviously be great because it would be exciting. Cause it would be maybe there's some weird MLS pickups he could make. Matt Beasler, someone like that. But I think if you if you pull in anyone like that, it's going to take. It famously takes anyone a little while to get acclimatized to the Premier League. Like even I'm going to make a Man United reference. Nemanja Vidic came in January, and everyone was like, "Who is this
so
joker?"
Patrice Evra.
Right, and it takes a while to get settled in. So. Even John Brooks, I feel like it's a tough ask to ask him to come in and do some. So in some ways, I'd rather see someone with lots of Premier League experience.
I think that's the way to go. Yeah, and so I mean, and it could be anyone from.
I didn't really give you an answer, did I?
No, not really. But I mean, you've hinted at what is more likely, which is that you go after players who have the veteran experience, who've probably been in a relegation dogfight before, and are maybe a little bit either on the outs with their club or could see Swansea as maybe a little bit above a lateral step. I'm not sure who that would be, but I think there are players
Smalling,
out there.
Who seems a little bit out of favour at United, right? He doesn't seem to be the first choice centre-back pairing. Now is it Jones and Bailly?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think he's still in there.
He's about to go to Africa Cup of Nations.
He is.
So
Daley Blint is in there as well, so you never know where he's going to fit in.
But that's not what they need, right? That's not the... Like, he's great in...
No, Daley Blint isn't leaving Man United.
Right,
no, I just mean more so like that's another center back who then maybe bumps Smalling down. But I feel like he would stay with Man United. I think that might be too much.
Yeah.
Too much. Who knows?
Do we have an answer then?
We do not.
We do
not, but that's why we're not paid to be the managers and directors of Swansea City.
Or maybe Bob Bradley works miracles with the guys.
I think it's become abundantly clear that he is. It is going to require a miracle for those guys to become consistent, capable centre backs.
But just to put a line under this, worth celebrating. Even though it was wacky, even though it was crazy, maybe even because it was wacky and crazy. Really great, like historical achievement. Now we have an American coach wins in the Premier League because there was a danger Bradley exits in January having lost every game.
Do you know what my favorite part about this game was?
Or lost most games. Sorry.
Do you know what it was? He thinks. It was when you texted me thinking that they had lost. Because that's how many times the scoreline changed that you texted me to say, like, we're going to have to talk about Bradley. And I thought you meant something had happened because I knew it was 4-4 at that point. And I was wondering if they were going to score.
No, this was after I knew the final score. I texted you. I'm pretty sure.
No, you definitely texted me, they were losing 3-4 when last I looked. So you thought it was.
Really?
Yeah, so what you had implied there was that we had to talk about Bradley because things weren't going well. And then things turned around. So, yes, it's definitely worth celebrating because otherwise it would have been a bummer.
All right, so well done to Bob Bradley. Well done to Swansea City. Next week's opponent is Spurs away.
Oof.
Spurs away Saturday morning.
The revenge of the Gylfi?
It could be the revenge of the Gylfi.
You never know.
Or it could be Harry Kane dominating Swansea centre-backs.
Or that. Either way. Either way.
It's one or the other. All right, next up, MLS Western Conference Final. It's Colorado 0, Seattle 1. This segment is brought to you by our good friends at Roughneck Scarves. Roughneck Scarves are the official scarf provider of US Soccer, of Major League Soccer, and of the United Soccer Leagues and NCAA.
And the Total Soccer Show.
And the Total Soccer Show, soon to be, right? Our scarf is not yet in the Roughneck Scarves shop. It will be soon. If you would like to support any MLS team, lots of college teams and USL teams, as well as a selection of national teams or the Total Soccer Show, roughneckscarves.com is the place to go.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you're looking for a gift for your college-bound or currently college-attending child, friend, whomever, it's a good gift because it's an easy thing to wear to show your support. It goes back to why scarves exist at soccer grounds in the first place.
Tis the season, right?
Yeah, you can wear your colors of your university or your team without having to wear a giant orange jacket or something like that. You can wear your scarf with a nice pea coat, and it looks good.
And if you're suddenly a lot more excited about the US men's national team, now's a good time to buy a US soccer scarf.
That too.
So if you go to roughneckscarves.com, spelled with 2 Fs, R-U-F-F, you can get 20% off with the TSS discount code, which is Total Soccer Show, all one word, all lowercase. Link will be in the show notes.
Alrighty, thank you to Roughneck Scarves for sponsoring this, and thank you to Jordan Morris for continuing to make Leslie Jones happy.
So Jordan Morris scored the only goal in Seattle's 1-0 win away to Colorado. It's Colorado's first home defeat of the season.
I believe so.
I believe it makes it 3-1 on aggregate. Famously, Jordan Morris had the flu or just got over the flu. I'm not quite sure of the timeline.
I think had the flu. He had been bedbound for the last couple of days, apparently.
So I've seen this described as the other Jordan flu game.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah. I think some people have written that, sure.
So I don't have the Michael Jordan historical reference. Did he similarly play with
He played in the NBA Finals through the flu and had an amazing game. Yeah, basically.
Okay.
So it's the idea that you can elevate your game above humanly possible.
Right.
I think Leslie Knope does that in a Parks and Recreation episode where she has the flu and she takes 3 flu shots in a row and then delivers a speech and then hallucinates immediately upon delivering the speech. Yeah, so this is it. It's Michael Jordan, Jordan Morris, and Leslie Knope. Okay. Those are the 3 people who can pull it off. 3.
Yep. I will say this, right? We love Jordan Morris on TSS. We love his goal. It was a good goal. It wasn't a great performance, right? When you watch the whole performance, there are a lot of misplaced passes and sort of little mistakes that he made. He looked like a man with flu for a good chunk of the game.
He did, but he also looked like the type of player who then can turn it on when it really needs to happen and can get that goal even if it means he can't use one of his feet.
Right. But is that, on the flu note, is that weirdly more impressive that he can sort of be in a bad way, not have a good game, and yet still be, even at his young age, the guy that comes up with the goods and puts Seattle through to MLS Cup?
Yeah,
to the championship
absolutely.
game?
I mean, because his touch was a little bit sloppy, and he made some questionable decisions, but by the same token, he was also not hesitating to drive at defenders and get that ball from one side of the field to the other very quickly and help in transition, drift back and help in defense to some extent. So I think, he executed his role as well as he could have.
His role being that sort of left side attacker in a 4-2-3-1 who had a license, it seemed, to drift towards the middle.
And to stay farther forward than anybody else, basically.
Right, yeah. He didn't seem to have as much defensive duty as some people did.
No.
Should we talk about the goal?
Sure.
All right, so it's I think it's Ladero who tries to serve the ball in. It's Jared Watts gets there first, heads it straight to Nelson Valdez. Valdez, quick touch, puts it in behind where Watts was, and Morris is in on goal. 2 touches, both right-footed, and then it's over Zach McMath and into the back of the net.
Right, and it's also a twisted knee would be my guess. Nothing too serious, but definitely had a weird taped brace compression sort of thing on it for the second half, which means it was probably a little bit weak, but they didn't want to risk, flu is one thing, knee is another, but, combine them and I'm sure he's fine, I guess was the logic there.
There's no knee quill, right, for a twisted knee that you have to play
terrible. But good.
But if I invented it, I'd be real rich.
Yeah, that's true. And we did have some questions about if he takes it with his left foot, is there contact there? There isn't, but I also don't know if he's able to score that goal because I think he feels so confident using the outside of his right foot that he's able to make it happen.
So this is the ultimate Jordan Morris conversation to me. I think I asked you a little bit about this off air. Do we worry about his lack of left foot if he keeps scoring these Travella outside of the right foot goals as he did in the MLS Western Conference Final in his rookie season?
I don't think worry because he's still doing things, and it's not as though my career or his career is my career or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I can definitely wonder.
As a US national team fan, more so
I can wonder how effective he is going to be if he doesn't diversify his game.
Right.
You hear about that
portfolio.
But if you hear about that all the time with basketball players, how they identify one weakness that kind of plagued them throughout the season, and that's all they work on in the off season. So come the start of the next season, they've dealt with that, and that's how you continuously improve. That's what Kobe Bryant was famous for. LeBron James, the same. Michael Jordan as well. So I think. To see him continue to only rely on that right foot, eventually defenders pick up on that, and it can become a problem.
Even if he keeps scoring, though,
Yeah, I think so because I mean you and I both played in games where we know a player is only ever going to use that one foot, and so you can just completely cheat. And as long as you take away that right foot, you force him onto the left foot. Right. Jordan Morris can score with his left foot.
We've seen it happen,
and I'm not saying that it's easy to do because I would probably shoot with my right foot if given the opportunity over switching to my left. It's a little bit weaker, but I think you can start to cheat that way. And even if he is so diverse as to be able to drive the ball but also flick it with the outside of his foot, use that trivela. With that trivela, though, it's still tough to get like a lofted cross. It's usually going to be that kind of somewhat driven, somewhat low-ish cross into the box, and you can anticipate that.
There's actually one of those was blocked in this game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you can anticipate that and step to it, and kind of you don't have to worry about the lofted ball to the back post. You generally can be like, oh, it's Jordan Morris. He's going to play with the outside of his right foot.
Yeah.
I'll step and win that ball and beat my guy to it.
But, okay, I want to play Trivela's advocate, which is that maybe Morris gets so good with that outside of the right foot that even players who know he's right-footed are trying to defend that right foot. It's still like a weird, unorthodox, unexpected thing that he can do. And that maybe, for example, that's one of the reasons he was able to score this goal, right? Because doesn't he... Valdez plays a really nice, like almost like poked ball through, and Morris is able to take it, control it with the outside of his right, and play it with the outside of his right. That maybe gets him closer to McMath faster than if he had gone with the left foot, which would have been more natural. Yeah. Like I'm saying, is there an advantage to being unorthodox, I guess?
I mean, absolutely, because I think if you can be unorthodox and still know your limitations, and the player that comes to mind is Antonio Valencia. We've talked about him a million times, that he is only right-footed.
Yeah.
You will probably never see him play the ball with his left foot.
Yeah.
You rarely see him use his left foot to touch the ball.
Stand on.
But because he is so quick and like knows exactly what he's doing, it's really, really hard to defend still. I think the difference with Jordan Morris, he may get to that level, and that's really good. But even in that goal, I mean, he hurts his knee because he hasn't quite set himself up to hit that ball cleanly, the way I do think Antonio Valencia, maybe he doesn't finish that one because he's probably not as good of a goal scorer as Jordan Morris.
Yeah.
That could be a controversial statement, but I believe it.
That's why Valencia's ended up playing as a right winger or a right back. No one's ever said, hey, Valencia should play centre forward.
Yeah, it's true. But I feel like he would probably control that a little bit tighter, draw the goalkeeper out, and then kind of chip it, and not have to do that outstretched. Maybe you have that contact. That's the difference, I think. If Jordan Morris can learn to do it in such a controlled way, the way, say, Valencia does, then I think it's maybe less detrimental. But if he's still very much using it to compensate for not wanting to use his left foot, then it has a different tone.
Okay, fair enough. So you come down the side of he should diversify his pedfolio.
Yeah, yes.
But in his rookie year,
I love that you're cracking yourself up with your puns here.
I'll get you eventually. In his rookie year, with just his right foot, he has taken Seattle to MLS Cup.
Yeah, and that's why I say it's not worth worrying about, right?
Okay,
because,
fair. Yeah.
I mean, he is the rookie of the year. He's scoring goals. He's doing big things. So, I mean, it's not worth worrying about in the short term. But long term, I think you want to see your players get better.
Also helpful, Seattle's defending in this game.
Yep.
We looked at the stats. I can't remember if Colorado had 16 or 17 attempts on goal. I think it was 16, and it's sort of 9 shots off target and 7 blocked.
Yep.
0 on target.
Yeah.
And every time we saw Colorado go forward, they would essentially be faced with back four, Chad Marshall heading balls away if anything came in. That's who Swansea City should sign. Chad Marshall. And then you've got Roldan, and for most of the game, Arce Alonso in front. There was no way through the middle of that Seattle team.
No, and the only times there were, like you think about the opportunity Skelsengashi had in the first half when he goes
that
to
weird bicycle kick.
Half volley. Yeah, I think
Scissor kick, I guess. Right?
But I think that comes about because it's one of those situations when you're just all of a sudden you have an opportunity and you haven't had any opportunities in that game, and maybe you panic a little bit. Whereas if they had more comfortable shooting opportunities, he might settle that, he might play it back across.
Yeah.
So I think that even points to the idea that Colorado just didn't get the looks that they were expecting.
My abiding memory of this game, the only looks that Colorado got were sort of Jermaine Jones floating it over from the top of the box because he's got guys in front of him. Marco Papa trying desperate shots from the top of the box. There's just no way through Seattle, right?
Yeah.
And even to give Brian Schmetzer some credit, the coach, even when Arce Alonso goes off, remember he quickly rearranged everything, and he had Nico Ladero playing as a defensive midfielder.
He sure did.
And even that looked good. He absolutely did not only for 10 minutes, but he did the job admirably.
Yeah, and it's because he's got a group of players who know what their responsibilities are. They played a 4-2-3-1. They stuck with a 4-2-3-1.
Yeah.
And he moved players around within that, obviously, and made those substitutions. But you still stick with the basic structure, so you can say, you are now doing this role. So it was Ladero dropping in. Ladero, you're now doing the Aussie role. And he can kind of be like, oh, okay, I know what to do in that situation.
Just bit the head off a bat.
Yeah, exactly. That too. But you know what I mean? So like I think that works to their benefit, and I think that's why Seattle were successful in the long run in this game.
and facing Seattle in MLS Cup. I've got here, MLS Cup is December 10th. It seems so long since the playoffs started.
Yep.
It's going to be either Toronto or Montreal, and that game is, we double-checked, Wednesday night, November 30th, 7 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1. Taylor, why were these conference final second legs not played on the same night?
I believe because the Grey Cup was happening.
My second question, Taylor, what is the Grey Cup?
I think it's the CFL Super Bowl, basically.
It's the championship game?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
And that was being played in Toronto, which
at BMO Field.
I guess would make it the Toronto Argonauts were playing? Question mark? I'm not sure. Maybe it was
just there.
Because
it's the final. They may have just hosted it.
Yeah, it might have just been a neutral stadium, who's to say.
CFL knowledge, not our strong suit.
Not so much. I did also want to add, I know it goes usually in the scouting report, but since we've talked about it already, Michael Lazar, he tweeted us to say, consider this my scouting report, and then he retweeted Leslie Jones defending her man, JMO Smooth 13, which is Jordan Morris's Twitter handle. In response to criticism that he doesn't have a left foot, she gently reminded the commentator that the commentator isn't the one out there playing, nor is he the one who scored.
I remember her using different words when I saw that.
She did. But I feel like she would say the same thing to me, so maybe I shouldn't doubt her man Jordan.
But that's the ultimate response to the should he work on his left foot debate, right? You're not out there, he scored.
This is true. This is very true.
Oh, Leslie Jones, brilliant. All right, thank you to Roughneck Scarves once again for sponsoring our MLS coverage. If you would like more MLS coverage in the future, then support Roughneck Scarves at roughneckscarves.com. Use the coupon Total Soccer Show, all lowercase, for 20% off your purchase.
I know a lot of people have said that 2016, transitioning away from Roughneck for a second, but I need to say that before I say this. I know a lot of people have said that 2016 was the worst year on record with how many people have died and the kind of chaotic state of the world at the moment. For Portland fans, if Seattle win MLS Cup, and as the rumors have speculated, Darlington Nagbe leaves for Scotland and Celtic, is this the worst year ever?
It's definitely the most disappointing after 2015. Right?
I think so.
All right, Portland fans, we'll be gentle.
Yeah.
But we have to talk about this, right? The same week that Seattle go to MLS Cup, there are rumors that Celtic are preparing a bid for Darlington Nagbe. And I didn't know this until you told me just before we started recording. Nagbe went with Celtic to watch a Champions League game. Is that right?
Yeah, he went to Celtic Park to watch them play Barcelona in the Champions League.
That is...
and very much enjoy the atmosphere.
Is that what he tweeted? I mean, that's kind of a tempting look what you could be doing. I imagine Darlington Nagbe being like, do you play these guys every week? Someone at Celtic just says...
I feel like he...
Yes.
I feel like he probably knows. But I think he is, my guess would be keenly aware of what Celtic represents, which is an opportunity to play in the Champions League, although he probably won't get to do that if he goes there in January. But maybe the Europa League. It's an opportunity to basically win the league, most likely, get decent opposition, but then also have it as a stepping stone to maybe moving to England, maybe moving elsewhere.
So, let's think of this. If you are Darlington Nagbe, before we talk about the financial implications of this deal for both sides, do you leave Portland and go to Celtic at this point?
I think so.
Why do you say that?
Because as good as Portland has been for Darlington Nagbe, he's been there for 6 years, which blew us both away, and has been there consistently. I think the fewest number of games he's played was this year, and he played 27 games this year. But generally speaking, he's been in there. He's 26, 27, 26.
Okay.
So he's been there consistently. It was like 27, 28, 32, 31 games. So he's been there consistently. He's won MLS Cup. He's done a lot with that team. I think this opportunity represents a positive move for him because I think Celtic is a team that does have a decent amount of talent. They have Brendan Rodgers as a coach, so he can go in there, probably get minutes, improve his game, become a little bit more known on the European stage, and then see what else is out there, or just stick with Celtic and get consistency.
We think he's good enough, right, to easily play for Celtic?
I don't know. Is my other answer
really?
Because Celtic. They're playing the Champions League. They drew with Man City.
Not all the time, though.
No. Well, no. They kind of routinely are in the Champions League, just not for that long.
Yeah.
But I think they do still have a decent number of midfielders in there. You have Scott Brown, who does Scott Brown things.
Yeah.
And
Bitton, we were impressed with Bitton when we saw Celtic play Manchester City. Right?
And he didn't start against Barcelona. Right. So, it's definitely going to be competition, which maybe helps him elevate his game. And that would be the downside, is maybe he doesn't get minutes. Maybe the SPL is too physical. There's too many people already there. So he moves there, doesn't play at all, and then looks for like a loan move and gets loaned out somewhere else, and all of a sudden it's not quite what it looked like it was going to be.
And then that's bad for the US national team, right? If Nagbe is suddenly struggling at Celtic.
Yes.
Good for the US national teams if he goes to Celtic, lights it up for a year, gets a move down to the English Premier League, like maybe he plays for Swansea.
Yeah.
Again, I'm pushing all Americans towards Swansea.
Yeah, I think that might be a bad idea. But I think the more disappointing thing for me was so I read that Portland had said there's no way he's being sold, that they fully expect him to be part of the team in 2017. But then there are other sources saying that the initial offer that was mooted from Celtic was £1.5 million, and they're like, that's far, far below.
Is that why it was $2 million as reported? That's a currency exchange
Okay,
rate.
maybe.
Yeah.
But they were saying that's far, far below our appraisal. He's worth far more than that, which makes you think $5 million, $10 million. And then the immediate sentence that came up was, but it is expected that a bid of £2 million would be enough to satisfy Portland.
Was that a Scottish source?
Yeah, I think so.
That may just be them being optimistic, right?
Yeah, it could be, and that's why I checked to see if there were photos of Nagbe there, watching the Champions League game, and there was. So at least they seem to have some sources. I'll also say that it does feel a little bit like a smoke fire situation, because you had one Portland source say, "Oh, well, it's below our asking price. We expect him to be here." You had another Portland source say, "Oh no, he was just there watching."
He just likes the Champions League.
Watching out of fun. Yeah, basically. He was an invited guest and went there just to watch the Champions League.
Yeah.
And when you start getting different sources saying different things, it makes me wonder if maybe there is a little bit more validity to the story than we might have believed otherwise.
Yeah. So,
but what do you think, though? Because I think it's probably a good move, even if it means that it makes Portland fans cry. And I don't ever want to make Portland fans cry.
I think it makes sense for Nagbe. Mm-hmm. I think it doesn't make sense for Portland, right? Because we looked into this, and they would get 2/3 of the transfer fee. For 2/3 of $2 million, you're not going to replace Darlington Nagbe.
Nope.
But I think it may just be a case where the Portland ownership group, so it'd be Merritt Paulson basically and Caleb Porter, won't stand in his way. Because they would maybe rather let Nagbe go where he wants to go rather than have an unhappy Darlington Nagbe. Because he did sign a new contract at the beginning of this season, right? So he's definitely under contract. MLS Classic style, it's not announced how long. It was just called a long-term contract.
I think it was through 2019 is what I saw.
That's the rumour I saw, but no, that wasn't the official report.
Right, yeah.
So they could keep him, but he'd be miserable.
But MLS also has to sign off on this deal, right? And we know that MLS has no problem with blocking moves if they want more money out of it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I feel like right now, though, MLS isn't in a place where it needs to hold on to its stars, right? Darlington Nagbe leaving or staying isn't going to make or break MLS sort of in a commercial or marketing kind of sense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
All right. Well, I guess we'll see what happens then.
Yeah. Jermaine Jones also leaving the league, possibly. I forgot we didn't talk about this. After the Colorado defeat, he basically tweeted that he was a free agent.
Even though he's not?
Well, he's not an MLS free agent, but I think he's a non-MLS free agent.
Yeah, and I think there was a lot of different people reminded him, no, that's not how MLS works. You're still, it's tied to Colorado unless they agree to trade you. And my guess would be that was never a thing that he was considering.
Yeah.
So it seems like maybe he's looking for one more contract abroad.
Yeah.
Maybe he just wants to see what else is out there first. Maybe he ends up going back to Colorado. Who knows? But it seems like it was more about, I've got options now, and I'm going to look into them.
The tip-off to us was, he said, in a few weeks, which is when the January transfer window opens, which means he can just go and sign with a club in Europe.
Yeah, I think he said, back after it or back to training in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So
Swansea City?
Maybe there you go. You keep linking everybody there. Huh?
I want to start with some Americans to Swansea rumours.
Yeah, the Pazdan one didn't work out too well. Pazdan to Wolves, unfortunately for you.
It didn't.
No,
but he did concede 8 goals against Borussia Dortmund.
Oh, that's good. It was all him alone.
He was there. He was definitely there.
So, sad news for Toronto fans, for Portland fans, probably happy news for Toronto fans. Potentially good news for USMNT fans. Also potentially good news for US national team fans is that Timmy Chandler continues to look good in a Frankfurt jersey.
Timmy C. So we saw his assist from the weekend as Frankfurt beat Borussia Dortmund 2-1. Got the assist on the first goal. It was a magnificent... It was right from second half kickoff, right? He sneaks out to the right wing. He comes back a little bit. Then he gets in behind, I think it's Schmelzer, Dortmund left back. Then puts in a great sort of square ball for the assist.
Yeah, I mean, and it's one of those where he picks his head up, splits 4 different players, spots the on-running player, slots it home, and then you get to hear the classical music that's played over the speakers whenever Frankfurt scored home, apparently.
And he essentially played wing-back for Frankfurt and did it well in a way that US national team fans would not find familiar.
Yeah. I mean, and again, it goes to that idea that we had, that maybe players just kind of either weren't being utilized to their greatest potential under Jurgen Klinsmann, or maybe
instruction.
Yeah, or I think you said this off air, so I'm going to put you on blast here.
Ruh-roh.
But your point was maybe the reason why he didn't want to commit is because he was sort of Jurgen, I don't know about this. I don't really want to go to Honduras and then be played out of position and not really be coached as to how to deal with it, and then potentially be scapegoated when things go wrong.
Yeah, and I didn't even mean the Honduras part. I really more meant, I'm not sure I want to play for you because you don't give me great instructions.
Yeah.
To be fair, that's all speculation.
Absolutely.
I have no evidence for that. other than watching Timmy Chandler play for the US national team.
I still think, I don't want to do too much more Klinsmann conversation because we've done plenty of it. I still think the biggest sign that maybe things weren't great is just how few people you've heard talk about it. Like, you've heard a few things here, like there's the Michael Bradley comment about when things go south, it's never just the manager's fault. Mm-hmm. You had Landon Donovan's tweet, you had a couple other people, but it's mostly been silent, and I think that speaks volumes.
That no one's like, oh, we'll miss him.
Yeah. Or said oh, I can't. He was the one who gave me this cap, or I'll never forget this moment. Like, you don't have any of those sort of poetic messages of remembrance. It's just a lot more like, yeah, all right, moving on.
All right, shall we move on to the future?
Sounds good.
With the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of scouting reports to catch up on because we took Thanksgiving off that Thursday and Friday. I see in front of me 1, 2, 3, 4 scouting reports.
There were 5, but we've already covered J-Mo Smooth.
We've got J-Mo Smooth 13 already.
So up first comes from Pat Hardy, scouting Jason Denier, the 21-year-old center back for Sunderland on loan from Man City, and also plays for the Belgium national team. Denier missed a month of the season with an abductor tear, but has now started the last 3 games for Sunderland at defensive midfield. He is naturally a center back, but the Sunderland back four has definitely looked less shaky with Denier shooting them. I think they have now won 2 and lost 1 since he came back into the fold.
They're still bottom of the Premier League, thanks to that Swansea win over Crystal Palace.
This is true.
Next up, James Ryland-Arnold is scouting Ben Woodburn, the 17-year-old Welsh forward for Liverpool. I saw this happen. The youngster made his senior debut for Liverpool this weekend against Sunderland, coming on in extra time for Wijnaldum. He only got about 3 minutes and had 1 touch, but James was still pretty excited overall. Given Liverpool's injuries and impending African Cup of Nations, it's possible Woodburn gets more minutes in the near future. Injuries being Coutinho is out, Lallana is out.
Firmino, I think, confirmed out as of today, I believe, and then you've got Mane leaving. So
I saw this happen. It did have the idea of because it was after Liverpool scored their second, I think, and you immediately saw Klopp be like, this is the time, get him in there. And he looked, so Woodburn 17 looks 17 at most. He ran around super excited, so excited he fell over once. He was that sort of adrenaline-filled teenage debut type thing, but he also connected 2 really good passes.
Yeah.
So Ben Woodburn for the future. I still wanted to play for England instead of Wales. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, probably not. James Ryland-Arnold also noted, I think, in his list of injuries and potential departures for the African Cup of Nations, that Daniel Sturridge continues to be Daniel Sturridge, which means inconsistent and injury-prone. So that's another one you can add to the questionable pile, and maybe a reason why we see more Ben Woodburn. Maybe. Cal Derleth emailed. He is scouting Kennedy, 21-year-old winger left back for Watford on loan from Chelsea. After figuring out how to properly spell Kennedy's name, only one N, Cal sent the following report. Since being loaned to Watford, Kennedy has played a grand total of 15 minutes. He's either been out with injury or sitting on the bench. As a result, reports say that Chelsea will end his loan early and potentially bring him back to the club in January, though another loan seems far more likely.
There we go. But Kennedy may fit in with that Chelsea wing-back system, right? He could back up Alonso as the left wing-back, because I know that's what Kennedy likes to do.
And I would say I actually added the another loan seems more likely, but in thinking about it, I mean, look no further than Victor Moses, who is suddenly integral to Chelsea plans. Not a thing you would have said a year ago or even 3 months ago. So there we are. You can't
second guess Antonio Conte.
You cannot.
He knows. All right, up next, we have 2 scouting reports about Joshua Perez, the 18-year-old forward, American forward, who is now playing for Fiorentina. The reports are from Andrew Baird and Tim Perez, and it seems, Taylor, that you have synthesized these reports into one super report.
I've done my best.
Okay. Perez made his senior debut for Fiorentina in a 4-2 loss to Inter. Tim Perez, no relation, reports that young Josh Perez came on in the 75th minute with his side a man down, having scored 2 unanswered goals as they tried to claw back from a 3-0 deficit. Despite the loss, Andrew adds that coverage of Perez has gone from 0 to 60 in no time. We've gone from shoddy camera phone footage of youth team Olympicos, saw that, to multiple major soccer outlets reporting his debut on Twitter. I feel weirdly like my favourite indie band has just been recognised by Rolling Stone.
It's a weird feeling when all of a sudden it's I don't know that guy, he's 16.
Yep.
And I've been following him for a year.
Yep.
It's very exciting.
That's why we have 2 scouts on Josh Perez. We kind of pegged him as possibly the next Christian Pulisic because he's at a sort of top-tier team in a good league and now he's getting minutes.
It's very exciting. It's very, very exciting.
And to underline, this is an 18-year-old American nephew of Hugo Perez, I believe, making his debut for Fiorentina in Serie A.
And it's been since Michael Bradley that we were able to discuss an American playing in Serie A. Yeah. So it's a nice change of pace.
So we'll be keeping an eye. And please, Tim Perez and Andrew Baird, keep us updated on Joshua Perez.
Yes, please do.
Two more players I just want to mention. We didn't get scouting reports, but for the US under-20s in the Women's World Cup, Ali Watt scored, Ashley Sanchez was involved, and Mallory Pugh was involved, so three TSS Scouting Network players, as the US came back from 1-0 down against Mexico to win 2-1. 2 goals in the final 15 minutes. Watt scored the equaliser, and she's not in the Scouting Network, but Hedges scored the winner. If you're listening to this on Monday evening, the US plays North Korea in the semi-final, 1 a.m., sort of early hours of Tuesday morning.
Should be fun.
It might be. We shall see.
We shall see.
There was also in that game, there were twin sisters. One's twin sister played for the US, one for Mexico. And they sort of the US player consoled the Mexican player at the end of the game. Beautiful moment at the Under-20 Women's World Cup.
Lovely.
If you would like to join the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network, where do you go, Taylor?
You go to TotalSoccerShow.com/subscribe.
Yeah, thank you to everybody who has done that recently or in the distant past. You are helping support the show, helping us make many, many more Total Soccer shows. Speaking of, we'll be back tomorrow with another Total Soccer show. But till then, Taylor Rockwell, thank you, sir, for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, thank you for listening. We will talk to you again on Tuesday.